Well, happy Sunday, friends, lovers, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
Hello.
How are we doing out there, folks? Tell us in the chat. We've having a that tells you right there where we're at. We are having a day, quite a day. The folks listening to the R and Brooks show know that I just wrapped up a bicycle ride. And
Woo, how many miles did you go?
20 and a half.
Oh my God.
Well, I had to, and you know why I had to.
Why? Because my flamenco teacher said that she rode, what?
19 miles.
19, so you had to beat her.
I had to beat her. Well, she went down to Hines Park, so, straight. I had to ride from the studio down to Hines Park.
And when she did it, Robert, she probably took some breaks, honestly.
But, but she's also, 10, 15 years older than me, so I had
slightly older.
I had to show my mettle. So, anyway, the only reason you all care about that is if my face seems a little red, I got a lot of sun and a lot of effort. But June 8th, 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, and we are here to talk about pride and love and a few things. And as has happened a few times before, what I want to talk about, it turns out, like right before us, Yar and Brooke did a show and talked about a few, slightly related things. And that's going to be really cool, actually, the way in which we link that up. But it is June 8th, and I want to go through real quick on this date. The one thing that I noted on this fine date, the publication of George Orwell's 1984.
Peace Through Strength, or I think that may have been one of his.
1984, published in 1949. Now, I didn't mention, and I should because it relates to this. Today is Sunday, June 18th, the 159th day of 2025. Do you remember when we started doing this and, COVID times? It's our 30th day of March in 2020, and we're all locked down. And comparisons to things like George Orwell's 1984 or Brave New World or even Atlas Shrugged seemed apt. We were locked down. Crazy, crazy stuff. Well, now it's 2025 on this fine June 8th. Incidentally, 200 days until Christmas, 145 until Halloween. How is that one so much closer? To me, they're all like at the same time, that last 3 months. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Aren't they all more or less on the same date? OCON is in 23 days.
Wow.
You objectivists out there know what I'm talking about. The big conference in Boston, Massachusetts. That's going to be fun. And yes, folks, we will be there. So if you are coming, come say hi. If you've met us already, we'll try to remember who you are. We're better. I won't say we're better than that at Yarn. We're probably the same as Yarn Brooke on that. Remembering people, usually, but not always. So
I'm pretty good with names.
You are better than I am. Much better than I am.
Probably.
So if somebody comes up to me and says, Robert, I met you a few years ago at OCON in, Miami. I'm like, oh, great. Remind me. Well, Amy will nudge in or she'll just, speak up.
Yeah,
and say,
that.
Oh, hi, Schmo. It's good to see you again.
And I'll just say this. I've never had anybody say, oh my gosh, how dare you not remember my name?
But they're crushed inside. I am. But people don't remember who I am.
If you ask them again, even if it's the fifth time, and my name is Amy. I'm so sorry. I'm bad with names. What is yours?
Wait, your name's Amy? I thought you were Maria.
Very funny.
You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's pretty casual about that nowadays. We're not living in the 50s yet.
Yes, absolutely. I've got to take a moment here and confirm I really am me to bring up the chat.
Oh.
Recent change of passwords on Facebook, and that means some of my systems here are waiting for me to say, do you trust this device? Yes, I trust this device. Of course I trust this. I trust me. You should always trust yourself. That's part of our message for today. Oh, and the one more is summer. Summer is in 12 days, and the day after that is Robert's, is it the 8th? Well, really the 9th annual rock and roll picnic. If you're in Southeast Michigan, hit me up for that. Meet us at the park, and we are going to rock out and eat. So again, on this date, 1949, George Orwell's 1984 is published. That's actually 4 years after Ayn Rand started writing Atlas Shrugged. And 6 years after The Fountainhead was published. And I always think of George Orwell as, well, he's from like way in the past. But Ayn Rand, she's current. I mean, yeah, she passed away a few years ago, but she's still current. George Orwell's like that guy who thought everything was going to hell. And
wait, when did he pass away again?
when did Orwell pass away?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look that up.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll look
but 1984 was published in 1949 on this date. Orwell actually lived a long life, I believe. But I would have to look it up. Now, folks, tell me if you've read the book, or even if you've seen one of the films or the television production.
I'm so sorry. He actually lived pretty short.
Did he? Oh,
In 1903 he was born. In 1950 he died.
jeez. So like 46, 47?
Yeah.
What did him in? Well, that's sad. It's especially sad because he was kind of, God, my hair is still wet from showering after the ride. Sorry, I'm distracted by the, do not be distracted by the beautiful people.
Obey my dog.
We've got to see Zoolander again. That's such a great movie.
Yeah.
Yes, George Orwell, 1984. Now, tell me in the chat, and I still haven't managed to get the Facebook chat up yet, but I am working on it. Tell me in the chat, how much of 1984 do you think actually came true or is coming true? Because the interesting thing about Atlas Shrugged is how much of it has actually happened. And not in the completely dystopian way that the book presents, but in the specifics. Ayn Rand was right about everything, and most of what she talked about happened. In 1984, of course, people, especially I think in the 80s, even more than now, talked about newspeak, political correctness being the version of newspeak from 1984, and Big Brother, and I don't know, we don't hear as much about. I was about to say Ed Norton. Who's our friend who's now in Russia because he was the...
Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden, thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, certainly Big Brother is out there, and they're keeping one eye on you, but how much of the surveillance state and the manipulation of language has actually been used by, no, not universities, they're big on that, but the government? I don't know, I feel like 1984, well, the year came and went without the predictions coming true, but I don't mean to minimize the predictive powers of dystopian novels, and add Brave New World to the list, and even metaphorical stories like Animal Farm. But no, this is not the world of 1984. There are elements out there, but it's really closer to being the world of Atlas Shrugged. And if you know Atlas Shrugged, I'm still on Team Dagny. I still think we're nowhere near striking.
Yeah. Let me know when you need me to mention some stats.
Oh yeah, bring them on.
Well, first of all, I mean, so Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, recently said, "Peace through strength," which is actually a George Washington quote, but it had a different meaning back then in the 1700s. So that kind of got me on. What did Orwell say?
Yes.
War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, okay.
Ignorance is bliss. That wasn't Orwell, but we all know.
So it was happening in Paramount and Compton, in the suburb or near LA, and also in LA. With the deportation, right now in America, we don't really have an immigration policy. We have a deportation policy, and there's a couple of facts that I need to get out there that I learned through watching Year on Brook and watching The Bulwark.
So we're getting to the news of the day.
Are we? Yeah.
That sounds like you are, yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Are we on the news of the day or are we not?
No, let's do that. Let's skip forward to the news of the day. The segment of the show that we added last week, we told you that although there are daily news shows, notably Yar and Brook Show, you need to get here. We're going to do it from here. So the news of the day, here it comes. The news you won't get anywhere else, or at least the perspective you won't get anywhere else. And Amy, you're talking about what's going on in California.
Yeah.
And Los Angeles mayor has been speaking out because she is rightly outraged.
Yes. She was actually interviewed on ABC 7 or somewhere in LA. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. So this is what she says. So basically the context here is that in Paramount, 80% of the population is Hispanic. Paramount
being the name of a city in California.
City. Yes.
Okay.
Near Compton, near LA, in that area. 80% of the population is Hispanic. So ICE comes in there, trucks in there with their many vehicles and their inept agents and, former, bro dudes and alt-right and I guess oath keepers perhaps that were pardoned by, I don't know who these people are. All I know is that we can't identify them because they wear masks all the time.
They wear that's creepy as as
that is dystopian.
I don't have non-swear words to describe that. Why are ICE agents wearing scarves like they're guerrilla warriors?
They know they're doing wrong.
Is there anybody out there who supports what's going on with the Immigration Service? Tell me, why are the agents wearing cloth masks over their face? Police don't do that. No, the Army does not do that.
They identify themselves.
Nobody does that except guerrilla warriors.
Yeah, and then they are basically terrorizing cities across the nation. What's happening is that during the Biden days, they had particular numbers, quotas of people who are being deported. Maybe, I don't know if that was the case under Biden, but there were a lot more people deported under Biden. Why? Because people were coming across the line and then being caught right as they crossed the line and then being deported back. Right now, the border into Mexico is completely locked down. So you're not getting any immigrants in here. And even though Trump and Homeland Security, Hegseth, and what's his name? That horrible snake. Anyway.
Are you talking about our vice president?
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller.
Even though they're like, yeah, we got to get, 1 million people deported, 20 million people, 25 million, 50 million people deported. Yeah, that's what we need to do. They're not going to get those numbers. They will never achieve any of those numbers. Or $3,000, 3,000 people a day or something like that.
It's a big lie. You're right. The numbers are not achievable. If you believe in any of that for a moment, consider what those numbers would mean in reality. And no matter how horrible the rounding up that's going on is, it ain't gonna. It's like the numbers Doge claimed that they were going to achieve,
right?
And came nowhere near achieving.
Yeah, and so in the meantime, let's see here. Mike Lee, he posts on Twitter. Somebody says, Justin, rioters in Los Angeles waving foreign flags are now setting American flags on fire in the middle of the street. This is why we need mass deportations. So this is their narrative. The idea is that we have 80% of Paramount are Hispanic people. They come out and they wave the flags of their homeland to say that they are proud immigrants to the United States of America, and they're working and they're being productive. They're not gang members. And Representative Mary Miller says the anti-American rioters in California are being organized and funded. This is coordinated assault on our sovereignty, like they're going to take over the country. The American people deserve to know who is behind it and why. Well, it's pretty easy to find out. And then Stephen Miller says this is a violent insurrection. Anyway, they keep going on and on. Trying to say that these are militant immigrants who are trying to take over the country with their foreign flags. This is complete nonsense, a complete utter lie. And so we've got Karen Bass, the mayor of LA. She was interviewed and she basically summed it up this way: that ICE came in on their black horses, surrounded the Home Depot, and I don't know how many, they arrested dozens or so from this Home Depot. The families of these people who were arrested came down, and a bunch of other people who were there, in LA, who have been protesting for Garcia's return, and the other gentleman's name I forget his, but he was a gay hairdresser who was deported to El Salvador, and So all these people are coming down and protesting it peacefully, by the way. And but ICE agents are coming into businesses, completely disrupting the businesses, completely shutting them down for the day. And so what Karen Bass says, this is from her interview, this is when people go to work and their families learn that ICE is on the premises and they might be detained. And families come and they're not sure whether their spouses or their family members have been taken away. And when they are taken away, not knowing where they're going. So this has been a very, very difficult time. But having said that, under no circumstances is violence acceptable. So and by the way, there was a car on fire and some people throwing rocks at some of the ICE cars. I think that's all that's been reported. But they've retaliated with flash bombs and what do you call it? The smoke. Anyway. So then she basically says, so I'm concerned that now the federal government has nationalized the National Guard and we could potentially have troops in our city. I do not believe that is called for because I am confident that LAPD and other law enforcement agencies, like the sheriffs, can handle things in Los Angeles. And she goes on to state that when the ICE comes into anyone's city, they do not tell the mayors, they do not tell the county officials, they do not tell the state officials. They tell no one. They just come in and do a raid without contacting any law enforcement whatsoever. And she basically sums up to say, they are causing chaos, they are terrorizing people in these cities, and then she says to go on, protesters, please be peaceful. This is untenable. This is setting, if and when the federal government brings in either National Guard members or the Marines and militarizes this operation, there probably will be deaths. They should have known better to go into a city that was 80% Hispanic. Of course they're going to fight back. Of course, I mean, everybody there, almost everybody there is invested in making sure that they're not deported. Anyway, there are some facts for you folks, and this is counter to the narrative that people like Mike Johnson and Stephen Miller and Pete Hegseth are claiming. So just keep your eyes and ears out here. I think that this will. I think it's untenable. I'm hoping for the best, and well, a lot of these immigrants who have come in, they're on the condition that they stay here. They have to report into their immigration offices, and when they do, that's usually when the time that they are arrested and deported or put into horrible jail conditions. Anyway, it's a mess out there. So anyway, what do we say positive about that?
Well, no, that one gets the thumbs down. The raspberries on 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir news segment. We've got, obviously, as always, we get both sides, or all sides, all three sides, the inside, the outside, the upside, the downside. Bonnie in the chat says Stephen Miller, our White House chief of staff, even lectured us on the fact that, here we go, because Trump was elected by all Americans, was chosen by the will of the people, he can do whatever he wants. Now, Miller is not the first person to say this. He was elected, and therefore, he should be able to do whatever he wants. This is the kind of non sequitur you would expect from, grade school children. But this should not be adults, much less anyone anywhere near the White House. Well,
Karen Bass was elected. The sheriffs in LA were elected. Do they get to
do whatever they want?
Maybe forcibly bar ICE from coming into their cities? That would be interesting.
That's a great point. Yes, just because you were elected, I guess that's carte blanche and blank check, because the Constitution Individual rights, to hell with that. Over on the Facebook side, William says, well, they wear masks because the lefty as soon as you say, why would you put that word in there? Do you think that strengthens your argument? Yes, I understand there are leftists out there, and I understand there are MAGA out there. You're not helping your cause. Well, the answer is you can't help it. You can't help but put that. Anyway, William over on the Facebook side of things says, they wear masks because the lefty criminals and cartels will target their families. Well, you're very cynical and ignorant when it comes to this border control issue. Thank you for your contribution to the discussion, William.
Bless your heart.
I guess I'm ignorant because I don't even know how to answer that, other than to ask why. Why is that a unique problem, and how is wearing masks over their face? Why don't the police do that? Why doesn't anybody do that? Why? No, I'm not even going to.
Jim Ashley on Facebook says, thanks, Amy, for depressing me.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
I've tried to keep these news segments very, very brief, very short, because we're not a news show. But I do think it's important that we touch on the news and give the what's the word I'm looking for? The outside perspective on these. I'm not going to say objective, because you can be on the inside and be objective.
If you're listening to people from the White House or Fox News, you're not getting the full story, perhaps. Perhaps you should consider looking into other news sources like The Bulwark or Yarnbrook. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
We don't like ignorance here, and I don't think you should either.
Ian says, because the National Guard was federalized, well, they're not allowed to help law enforcement. They can only defend institutions and things like that. But we'll see who holds them to that standard. I'm curious to see, and it's early times. Yaron was asked about this on his show, and he said, I'll be talking about that tomorrow in the news segment once we know more, once we know what this really means, that the National Guard has been called in. Why would you want the National Guard to come to... Anyway, yes, Yaron's right. We need to wait and see what is actually happening. Because my anti-dystopian stand tells me, as bad as this will be, and it will be bad, it does no good to exaggerate what it's going to mean. And I'll just say that. And since you mentioned this, Amy, this very, very serious story that has Jim feeling down. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to mention the news from this week, which was, no, not ICE going out of control, but the end of the bromance.
Aw, very sad.
Donnie and Elon broke up. And Elon took his...
I'm sure that was the left. Oh, no, that was Biden.
Elon took his baseball and his glove, and he left. And he's I don't want to play with you anymore. It's very sad.
All I'm going to say is that, Elon, please get some help. Go to rehab or something, because you're not quite right.
You've got to give props to Elon for leaving. Mm-hmm. So if he was, 98% insane before this, I'd lower that to 95%.
Oh, very good.
Because he left it's like when a woman lives with somebody who brutalizes her, abuser. Right. And after months or even years of this finally leaves, I don't want to go to her and say, why did you wait so long? And you need to spend more time denouncing him now that you're gone. Elon has been doing the denouncing, and you can give him some props for that. But isn't it sad when people break up? I always said, if you break up with somebody, you shouldn't badmouth them. If you badmouth them, obviously it means you had lousy judgment for the whole time you were together. I don't understand couples that break up and then talk bad about each other. You should be able to say, well, the time together was good, it didn't work out, and we found out things about each other where we weren't compatible. But why does it have to end so acrimoniously?
Elon was, jumping up and down and showing off his belly and, pumping his fist in the air while Trump, his best friend, was speaking, and it was great. What a wonderful time.
Now, you were criticized on the socials recently by a commenter who thought, in criticizing Elon Musk's mental state, you were being critical of autism, of people on the spectrum. And
no.
That was your jaw dropper because I've never thought of Elon Musk as being autistic.
Well, I think that person was trying to razz me, and it didn't work. But I used the exact terminology of Elon Musk as a brain-addled menace.
Brain-addled.
He is brain-addled. Guess what
works for
addles a person's brain?
I don't know if he's got the RFK worm, but he's definitely got issues.
Not autism, not Asperger's syndrome.
Yeah.
But drugs.
Right.
And lack of sleep. My gosh.
But the reason I wanted to bring up the short battle of Donald and Elon was I don't necessarily think that there was a conspiracy here or a 3D chess move. Let's have a big breakup. So all the cameras, all the eyes, all the focus, all the news shows, and the entire country looks at that instead of, well, what's going on with immigration, or what's going on in California, or what's going on wherever it is they want to turn the cameras away from for a while. But even though I don't think it's a deep state conspiracy, where's the Q? Where is Q when we really need Q to tell us what's really going on behind the scenes in government? Oh, well, QAnon, you abandon us, kind of like Elon's abandoning us. But even though I don't think it's a deep state conspiracy, I don't think that it's a 3D, 4D, 5D, they keep raising the number as if even 3D was realistic, move of Donald Trump. It's kind of the net effect being the same, as if it was a conspiracy. So don't let the death of the bromance distract you from what's going on out there. And by all means, do speak out against what's going on. Except William, who apparently is waving a flag and rah-rah. And
he's just,
the people who are being persecuted deserve it because the left.
William's like a pig in mud. He's super happy about what's going on. Good for you.
Well, they do say never wrestle with a pig because you both get dirty and the pig enjoys it.
Right.
Not to say that William is a pig. William is not, because William
it's just a turn of phrase.
Is, yeah. Yep. So, cool. Thank you for your input on both sides of that. Very much appreciated. And that has been the news on 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. Again, bad stuff in immigration. Not an easy problem to solve. Joseph Biden, the brain-addled ex-president, actually threw out more immigrants, presumably illegal immigrants, than Donald Trump's been doing.
Exactly.
So we're not to say that, well, immigration laws shouldn't be followed and immigration should, open borders. This is not that. This is not that.
Who is this harming? It's not just harming alleged illegal immigrants. It's harming businesses. It's harming schools when ICE rolls up on a school. This is terrorist. These are terrorist acts.
No, they have to dress like terrorists, otherwise the cartels will come after them. So I've been informed. Yes. Yeah, it's good to see Narendra in the chat.
Yeah.
I know that he was thrown off of the Facebooks for a while when Zuckerberg decided. I don't know what he decided. You're posting too many pretty pictures or something like that. And for whatever reason, the Al Gore's rhythm didn't like it. And but he has some good comments here about dystopianism and what's going on. And you talking about immigration. He says sanction and giving a chance to evil people and motives, they will take it. It is catch-22. I didn't mention catch-22. The system creates mendacity. I think that's mendacity plus evil. Then we only wonder why they are like that. Hence, we must stay away from politics. Well, I don't think we should stay away from politics. It's why we've added the news segment to the show. But I do think you need to put politics in its place. And that's why...
Yeah. And I'll just say, shout out to all the peaceful protesters out in L.A., Compton, Paramount, all around that area. I hope that you are left alone soon to do your work, to be productive, to be good to each other, and yeah.
Well, since we jumped into the news early, it seems a little silly to go backwards, but
Let's do it.
but since you're mentioning that, yes, do keep up on the news, follow us, and, Yaron Brooke, who's obviously 10 times better at this than we are, on the news end of things. But also, once you've consumed the news and taken action where you think you can and should take it, then you remind yourself, well, we were talking about on this date, it's the day that Frank Lloyd Wright was born.
Nice.
Happy birthday to the greatest American architect of all time. Arguably, that's debatable. You could put Sullivan on the list. There are several people you could put on the list. But the link I added to the show notes under Frank Lloyd Wright's birthday is the Frank Lloyd Wright Cottage for Ayn Rand. I still think it's a shame that was never built. And I understand Ayn Rand decided she didn't want to live in the country. She wanted to go back to New York. She loved New York City. And so she ended up living in an apartment in New York City for the rest of her life after making that decision. But if the Frank Lloyd Wright designed home for Ayn Rand had been built, just imagine the attraction it would be. It would be, people would be visiting it like they visit Fallingwater. Kind of a shame. It's also the birthday of Francis Crick. And I was asked recently on Facebook, I think it might have been Michael Leibowitz, the podcaster, fellow podcaster. And he poses questions all the time. And one question was, what is your best argument for God? Now, he doesn't say religion. And two different stories, and we're going to end with that, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Two different stories. What is your best argument for God? And I said, well, I think the argument from complexity. The ontological arguments are easy because, where did the universe come from is answered by, well, where did God come from? If God can be eternal, why do you have a problem imagining that the universe is eternal? But the argument from complexity, when you look at DNA, when you look at deoxyribonucleic acid that Francis Crick, born on this day, figured out along with Watson, who he worked with, you're like, how the heck did that happen? But my best argument against the argument from complexity is the idea that, well, it's similar to the ontological argument in that if you imagine you would need a being capable of creating that, or at least starting it, and then evolution took over, wouldn't that being himself have to have a level of complexity, whatever he or it or she is, to explain the existence of that being? And you get right back into that infinite regress. So I'm good with evolution getting the job done, and happy birthday to Francis Crick. Tim Berners-Lee was born this day, and unlike the earlier folks we've mentioned born on this day, Berners-Lee is still alive. He is still out there, not inventing the internet all over again. No, it wasn't Al Gore who invented the internet. It was Tim Berners-Lee. To me, the invention of hypertext markup language, HTTP, was much more important than anything that the government ever did, including Al Gore. Although Berners-Lee did, I had a note here, where is it? Berners-Lee was asked about the early days of the internet, and one thing he acknowledged is that, he could have made do with a colon. And he put / there just because he thought it made it clearer that he was writing a web address. But there was no reason why web addresses had to be http://. Or later with secure sites, https://. The / never had to be there. And he was good enough to acknowledge that. So happy birthday, Tim Berners-Lee, still out there, inventor of the World Wide Web, 70 years old today.
Nice.
And two others, because, we got to hit up these musicians here. Bonnie Tyler. My link in Bonnie Tyler's mention in the show notes is, of course, to a YouTube karaoke page where you can sing Total Eclipse of the Heart. And you should. It's a great karaoke tune. I was watching a Rick Beato's video this week. He's finally done, after years of taking a break from it, what makes this song great. And he did an episode on what makes Stairway to Heaven great. Now, Wayne's World fans will was it Wayne's World or was it, now I'm forgetting, yeah, it was Wayne's World. no Stairway to Heaven in music stores. You can't play Stairway to Heaven in a music store because it was overplayed. Everybody would do that. It's kind of like yelling Freebird at a concert. Although I think whenever you yell Freebird at a concert, the band should play the damn song. But Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart has a similar reputation. Well, I say, if you're at a karaoke bar or a karaoke party, or you're just after this show clicking on links from the show notes, you should absolutely sing Total Eclipse of the Heart. You know, it's one of those overblown Jim Steinman songwriter productions, like, same guy who wrote Meatloaf's album Bat Out of Hell. You should do it. So happy birthday, Bonnie Tyler. Still out there, 74 years old. She was also, holding out for a hero.
Yeah.
Who was it who did the Hero show? Was that Andy? Or was that your own? Whoever did the Hero. Anyway, somebody.
No, it was Andrew Bernstein.
Somebody used Holding Out for a Hero as their theme song.
Oh, no, that was your own.
That was your own in the early days?
Yeah, that was the theme song for Jan Brooks' show. But yeah, Andy used the Hero show as a title.
Yes. So, not to mix those two up. Happy birthday, and one more musician. It's Nick Rhodes' birthday. Born Nicholas James Bates, founding member, of course, and keyboardist for Duran Duran. He was also the only constant member of the group going back to their early, more punk rock days, 1978. And Nick Rhodes is 62. That's 62 is not that old. 62 is not that. It's only a little older than me, so it can't be that old.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick, I love that he picked the name Nick Rhodes. Of course, he chose that as a stage name. His name was Nicholas Bates. And
he was.
It was a snap decision during an early interview, and he decided, I'm Nick Rhodes. And of course, you musicians know Fender Rhodes, the Fender electric piano, is called a Fender Rhodes, and Nick Rhodes is a great keyboard player.
Right.
So very cool. Oh, by the way, Bonnie Tyler was born with a different name too. She was born Gaynor Hopkins.
Huh.
And the reason she changed her name, I forgot to mention this. Did you know Bonnie Tyler is Welsh?
Oh, I think I used to know that.
I would not have guessed that from her.
She speaks Welsh.
Yeah, to me, her voice sounds American. She's got the kind of Stevie Nicks, throaty cigarette smoker voice, but it sounds American to me. No, she's Welsh. And she chose to change her name because there was another Welsh singer named Hopkin. Can you guess who that is?
Oh, Mary Hopkins.
Exactly. Mary Hopkin of Those Were the Days fame.
Yes.
Early signed to Apple Records. So yeah, that's why Bonnie Tyler put on a stage name. Nick Rhodes sounds very cool. If you know he's a keyboard player, Nick Rhodes is a very cool name. Happy birthday to him. Now that's that. I want to jump to what we're listening to this week. And I'll leave a few things out. I mentioned the Rick Beato episode, What Makes This Song Great, about Stairway to Heaven. I mention it because Rock and Roll Picnic's coming up in 2 weeks. And if somebody shouts out Stairway, I'll play that damn song too. But especially if they shout out Freebird. I've been practicing that one with Mark.
That's right.
I think we've got it down. Toya and Robert's Upbeat Moments video features their bunny again. And they've got one of those bunnies. They got a brown bunny, but it's the kind like you see pictures of like record-setting large bunnies. It's not quite a Flemish giant, and it doesn't look like one. It's just a brown bunny.
Yeah.
But it's 3 times as big as any bunny we ever had.
Did they say how much it weighs?
No. I should send them a message and see if they'll tell us the next time their bunny is featured. They have 2 bunnies, but I see the brown one the most. I think he's the one who actually doesn't mind being on camera. And it's Pride Month.
Yay!
You don't need us to talk about Pride Month because, we've done it before. We did a whole episode on Pride, and I did an episode of Life on Earth called Pride Month, right on Target, when Target was all wrapped up in Pride Month. But
do you know about Stuart Margolis's?
Yes.
Yeah, the value of pride. If you're not subscribed to Stuart Margolis on Substack, you should be. He talks about, he is married to his husband. They don't celebrate Gay Pride Month. But in this article, he goes on to talk about the kernel of truth in why you should be proud if you are in a situation that is adverse and requires a lot of courage.
Right.
He ends with... some are celebrating the earned pride of being true to themselves in the face of disapproval and discrimination. And in that sense, pride is legitimate, even courageous. So for the right reasons, I'd like to wish a happy Gay Pride Month to all who celebrate. I thought that was, and he goes up talking about, you should be judging yourself and others on the contents of their character and their virtues, their thinking, and it's, the things that are universal to human beings, not superficial. So it's a really lovely thing he did here.
Good, because he said exactly what I wanted to say. We have, gay friends and fans in the audience who have told us before. Well, they've taken both perspectives, but yeah, some have distanced themselves from the whole idea of Pride Month. It's improper. It's ridiculous. They don't celebrate it, and I get it.
Yeah.
The only thing I would want to do is add to that pretty much what Stuart Margolis says, and obviously he is in a better position to say it than me. Nobody, and somebody like William will come on and say, well, people on the left do. Nobody out there is proud of being gay. Nobody out there is proud of being black. Nobody out there is proud of being a woman just because they're a woman. No, what people are proud of, what people should be proud of, is surviving anti-gay sentiment. It can be really hard to grow up gay.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like in Europe, but in America, I mean, I wasn't gay, but the way that slur is thrown around, the way people who are suspected or just ridiculed for maybe being gay are treated. Now imagine you're really gay. Well, if you grew up in America, if you grew up anywhere, you're not proud of being black. No,
right.
But you have every right. You absolutely should be proud of growing up black without letting all of the racism out there stop you from living your own best life.
Yep.
No, you're not proud of being a woman, except in the way you actually are a woman and face the challenges that women face, that only women face.
Yes, and conversely, I know a lot of friends who are gay and trans and binary, however, or non-binary. I mean,
we do have a varied friend circle. We do have
a friends and family circle of different types of backgrounds, and no one is saying, "I like to be a victim," and no one wants to be a victim or think of themselves as a victim, and. Yeah, they don't say, well, people should be treating me with, special, kid gloves or whatever, because, I had a hard time growing up. It's one of those situations where you should celebrate the fact that people show their courage and finding out who they are, what they love, what their values are in the face of adversity. And I certainly did. I mean, there is no goth punk rocker pride day for me. Growing up as a teenager, looking the way that I did, and all the slurs that were thrown at me, I didn't consider that to be important in my life, and I often, knew where those people were coming from. Not in a position of power, but in a position of ignorance and ineptitude and low self-esteem on their end. So yeah, it's one of those situations where not only do you have to have courage, you have to start understanding the psychology of people and understand that they're not necessarily after you. They have a really poor relationship with themselves in the world. And that's why they yell out slurs at you or whatever it may be. Yeah, it's a lot to take in. But happy Gay Pride Day.
Yes. And that's what I want to say at the end, which is, well, I'll steal it from Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a
lobster.
Wrapped in a lobster. But Jordan Peterson's number 2 rule for life is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Is it wrong of me to steal Pride Month No, not to steal Pride Month, because I still want people out there who have reason to celebrate. But no, to say everybody should have Pride this month. Because we all go through stuff. I hear that too much on the right. They're like, I don't care about what gay people go through. We all go through stuff. No, but we do all go through stuff. And you do have reason to be proud. But that's self-esteem. More than that, you have reason to exercise the virtue of pride. It's that unique Ayn Rand perspective.
Tell us about this virtue of pride you speak
unique
of.
Ayn Rand perspective. She separates the virtue and the value. The value of pride is what she calls self-esteem. Conviction that you are worthy and able to live on earth. Pride for her is a virtue. And she equates that to a moral ambition, to steal a phrase from Aristotle, although he didn't speak English. I don't know if he put it that way. But the translations. Moral ambition. Pride is living with pride, with your own highest values in mind. Living up to your own ideals. That is pride. Not just self-esteem, but the virtue, the actions, the policy, the conviction of pride. People say that, you do your work proud. Be proud of what you do at work and don't refuse to settle for less. And so when Jordan Peterson's rule number 2 says, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I like that, but I almost want to take the word helping off at the end and just treat yourself like someone you are responsible for. If you are a parent, if you have raised children like some of us have, you know that feeling of wanting to encourage your child to do their best and be their best and be happy to actually achieve their values and enjoy their life. One of the toughest things I ever heard from one of my own parents was, it's really hard to see your child unhappy. Which can be a hard thing to hear as a child. I think I might have been a teenager at the time. I'm like, oh God, that's a burden, that's guilt. But in a way, it was a good thing to hear. It's a truth. What you want for your kids, what you want for anybody you care about, is for them to achieve what they want, to live how they want, to achieve success in life. Yeah, career-wise, financially, but especially to be happy. To be able to look at their own life and say, that was worth living. That is worth living. I love this life. I love this earth. I love it. So when Jordan Peterson says, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, it sounds silly. Of course you are, especially if you accept the virtue of selfishness. Life is the standard of value. But I find the reminder valuable because even though we know it, we don't always feel it because it's not obvious. How often do you look in the mirror and smile and say, that guy? Hopefully you do that a lot. If not, just remembering that you deserve that can be valuable. At least it is for me. So during Pride Month, huge shout out to all of my friends, all of our friends who are facing challenges, who are finding it hard to be proud, or who have people standing in the way of them exercising their pride. And yes, if there are people out there who are doing this wrong, because I know we've got folks in the chat who are like, well, some people are just bad. Some people are evil. Some gay people are evil. Some black people are evil. Some women are evil. Some of these minority people are looking for things they don't deserve and are doing crimes and causing riots and those damn immigrants. If there are bad guys out there,
said Machiavelli.
Point is, I don't want to excuse any bad actors out there.
Right.
I'm tempted to say I don't care about them, but I do. It's just I don't take them metaphysically seriously. As John and Dagny would point out, they never had to take that seriously. You have to do what you have to do. And I condemn those kinds of things precisely because it makes it harder on all of the good, reasonable, normal people. Black, white, women, straight, gay, whatever. All the more reason not to let that stuff infect your sense of life to the point where you find yourself cheering and waving flags even if people are going too far, because at least they're doing something about the bad guys. No bueno. That's not how you solve problems. It's not how you make things better. You might, get some of those numbers that our administration is going for. You will not solve the problem. You will make things worse. You will be part of the problem, not part of the solution. I know none of you out there want that, right? Right. So, but it was a point worth making, and that's why I was determined to make it tonight. Be good to yourself, and you will find it so much easier to be good to everybody else and to get what you deserve from them. Friends, family, co-workers, peers, love interests, whatever it is. Bring it in. Be open to it.
Yes. By the way, George Orwell, he died.
Orwell.
Yeah, he died at the age of 46. He suffered a pulmonary artery rupture due to complications of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always tell people...
Thank you, modern medicine, for eradicating basically eradicating tuberculosis.
People don't know how good we've got it. TB does not knock people out the way that it used to. So many diseases have been either cured or effectively cured by having treatments that...
like vaccines. Thank you very much.
Yep. So... a little more conflict going on, but also some good stuff in the Facebook chat and on YouTube. And fortunately, folks are talking to each other. So if I've missed commenting on things of yours that I should have commented on, I hope you find that satisfying anyway. And they're mentioning books that I haven't read, like Maze Runner. Anyway, as always, I'll print out the chat afterward and look into a few of these references, which I do. Thank you for that. And good conversations going. Narendra says, I am 61. Wow. Well, I like to think that we are peers in many ways, and that is yet another one of them. So, although I don't know, would a 61-year-old man go out on a 20-mile bike ride and then do a podcast right afterwards? Ha! So, folks, thank you. Thank you for that. I've got a few more things in my notes, but I think I'm going to leave them out because none of it was important, and that was really what I wanted to say. Amy, thank you for bringing your perspective on the news of the day.
Yeah, I have a little bit more, but
what do you got?
I'm trying to find it.
What did you have in mind?
I just want to give a shout out to here it is in here, somewhere here. Give me a second. Let's see. It was reported that there was a I don't know if it was an attorney general or a prosecuting attorney or something like that in Tennessee. So when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was indicted in late May in Tennessee by grand jury, there was somebody there, some official there actually resigned over it. And anyway, shout out to that person. And I really do. I really wish, I'll tell you what, I don't mean to get heavy right now, but I will. One of the reasons I don't support capital punishment or the death penalty, one of the big reasons, is because I don't want anybody in law enforcement to have to kill anybody, unless it's in real self-defense, or in a situation like that. I think it's psychologically damaging for anybody to do that. I think it's psychologically damaged for people who work for ICE to do what they're doing. I think the people in the White House are already psychologically deranged and damaged enough. I think they're probably beyond help, but I don't want this for our society. I don't want to live in a world where people are guilty until proven innocent. I don't want to live in a world like that. And that's happening right now. I hope to reread Anthem soon, because I know there's a happy ending in that book, and it's really beautifully written. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's very worshipful of humanity, of the human mind, of man. Where is man worship in all of this, by the way?
Well, there is evil out there.
Where is human being worship in all of this?
There is evil out there.
Yeah.
And evil needs to be dealt with. But how you do that effectively, it's largely a sense of life issue. The folks who are cheering what ICE is doing believe that that is how people should and must behave in the world we live in as it is. They have a sense of life that is as effective as you can be given how people are.
That's highly...
My argument, which I hope I made clearly a few minutes ago, was no. That is not what makes things better. It makes things worse. And yes, you absolutely need to deal with people justly, and criminals need to be prosecuted, and they need to be given justice. The way it's being done is achieving the opposite of that. It is hurting, not helping. But again, it comes down to your view of the world. It comes down to sense of life. We should do a whole show on that, why I make that statement. Isn't it just as simple as justice? And we'll have to think about that. Incidentally, Greg Lewis went back to what you were mentioning earlier. He says, and yet we hear, well, let measles run their course. Speaking of being anti-vaccine, it's amazing that we have RFK Jr. is in charge of Health and Human Services. How is that possible?
Pete Hegseth, Christy Nome, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
rogues gallery,
all sorts of people that you would never want to have dinner with.
That is so obviously a sense of life issue that you can think those people, the terrible things they say and the way that they say them is a rah-rah moment. So again, total sense of life, total what you think is a reasonable person saying acceptable things. You go for that. Oh, by the way, let measles run their course. You could say that about a lot of things. And I think that same attitude, that same mentality, if it don't kill you, it just makes you stronger. Problem is sometimes it kills you. And the other thing is that sense of life, that person who said, well, I want people to be stronger. Some weak people will die, but stronger people. We need stronger people.
Ignorance is strength, folks.
I'm not going to say the word. I'm not going to say what that reminds me of. But if you've ever played the dice game Yahtzee, it rhymes with that. Oh, it'll make people stronger. The weak ones will die off.
Oh, nice.
Nice, yeah. And on that charming note, on that happy ending, doesn't everybody
Jim
love
says,
a happy ending?
Thank you for your perspective on the news, Amy, depressing as it was. And he has a bunch of shot glass emojis. Don't drink. You don't need to drink. Just go out in nature, plant some plants, say hello to the wildlife. And,
and we'll try to get back to the original intention of the news segment, was to keep it short, sweet, and with a evaluation at the end, a message at the end.
Yes.
But some things need to be said, and damn it, they were said. Folks, thanks for joining us. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, and you, often the best part of the show. If you want to support what we do, please like this show on YouTube. I know some of you are watching on Facebook, and that's cool, and we're going to keep doing it on Facebook, but the YouTube numbers are really important. So if you could go over there and click the like button, that would be pretty damn awesome. If you want to be really damn awesome, share the show on YouTube so we get more and more people watching it. We've got over 300 subscribers, but we need 1,000 before we can do things like Super Chat. So we got to get those numbers up. Now, if you really want to really support the show, you know what to do. Or maybe you don't. Go to patreon.com/Robert Nasir. There's a link at robertnasir.com. And you can become one of you awesome folks. You are the best. Monthly supporters, patrons of the show at patreon.com. And that would be super cool, too. But either way, the most important thing that we need you to do...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what?
Bonnie says, tell me more about the picnic.
Tell me more about the picnic. Bonnie, if you're going to be available, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after that, June 21st, and the day after summer officially kicks off. Here in Southeast Michigan, there's a park in Redford Township, Michigan, where we're going to be in the pavilion there rock and rolling. It's Robert's 9th annual rock and roll picnic. You can hit me up on Facebook or X or Blue Sky or Threads. I don't even remember all the places I'm on for more information. But yeah, we rock and roll. Picnic officially runs from 2 to 8 for 6 hours. And if you're a musician, come play some music. If you're a singer, come sing some songs. If you are none of the above, just come and eat food and watch everybody else as they make music. We can even do karaoke if you can't play an instrument, but you do want to sing.
Yes.
And none of us are available or capable of playing the song that you'd like to sing.
We have tambourines for you, folks.
We have percussion instruments. Actually, we have a whole back line. Musicians know what that means, a bass guitar amplifier and a drum kit and extra amps and extra everything. So anyway, yes, and Robert's 9th annual Rock and Roll Picnic, June 21st. Thank you for asking about that. Anybody who's not from Southeast Michigan, come to town anyway. Come hang out with us for a few hours. Do that thing. And that's it. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, and all that is left is for us to keep answering things from the chat and stay on for another hour. But we're not going to do that this time. Maybe next time. Oh, one thing I left out, and it kind of relates. There is a up-and-comer out there, a podcaster, a guy named Dan Norton, who's doing a podcast. He does something interesting. He's an objectivist, and he invites people to come chat with him about contentious issues, and he's going to tell them the story. I think he's a PhD in philosophy, or he's whatever. He's more educated than I am, than we are, at least on paper. And he does a new show, and he does something interesting. He invites people to call in. And the way that he does that is he uses Zoom, and you can make phone calls on Zoom, but you can just do it over the internet too, and then ask him to let you onto the show. So there's a link to that in the show notes to his channel. What I thought was interesting about it was that idea of having call-ins. You could have call-ins. We could do that here. We could have Zoom running.
Yes.
And if somebody wanted to actually talk, we could. So I'm thinking about ways in which that might be useful.
Hello, this is the 5 Minutes show.
1 ringy-dingy. 2 ringy-dingies. Yes, we could totally do the Lily Tomlin thing. So if you have any interest in that, share it in the chat or send us a note, post on the Facebooks and the 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir Facebook group, etc., 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 etc. I got to see Yul Brynner and the King and I again. So that's it. That's done. All that is left then is for us to wish you. Well, we usually would say we wish you every success that you so richly deserve. And we do. We do wish you that. But what we also wish for you is to adopt that Team Dagny perspective. I know everybody wants to be Team Galt. No, I'm still Team Dagny. Look at the world. Look at what's going out there. Look at the news. If you're not subscribed to the Doomslayer, the good news out of Cato Institute, or any of the other good news services that are out there, it's an amazing world. Amazing things are happening. Maybe in another show we'll get back into that, but we've done whole shows on benevolence and the benevolent universe premise, and explicitly what Ayn Rand and Leonard Peikoff have said about that. It's a great world. It's a great place. You deserve, because in this month of Pride, in the name of love, you deserve to get yourself a big, 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 big helping of it. And that is why, as always, we wish you love.